Okay, so Rein obviously coming forward, trading shield for these kind of more important cooldowns, more important resources. You know, Reaper, TPs, wraiths, bubbles, nades, time commitments from soldiers, that type of thing, right? Zarya comp, yeah, okay. If Rein's right in front of you with a Mei with full cooldowns, they'll trade pretty comfortably versus you. But you have enough tools as a Zarya comp to fight a Rein comp, right? Mostly you have the Reaper TP. You have the ability to support a player across a choke on a flank, both with bubbles, both with Ana heals, both with the fact that your Lucio doesn't really need to stick with you that much. Like, we're not looking to really like speed boost Azaria away from Rein because Azaria is not afraid of a Rein. The only thing Azaria is afraid of is the enemy backline shooting her in the face, right? If they're behind the Rein shooting her, then she's scared, she's got to run away. But if we find a way to pressure the backline, again, typically with Reaper TPs, soldier flanks supported by a Lucio, maybe, right? If we have that type of situation, Azaria doesn't need much other than the Ana pocket, right? If the Ana's helping her open the fight, the Ana's pocketing Azaria forward, so Azaria can get forward into position. Let's say she wants to go to the statue. If Ana can get Azaria into the position while being full health with both bubbles, obviously she might use one the Reaper, but without the Zarya having to use a bubble on herself to get into a position, then Azaria is super happy, right? So that's why we're opening fights. We don't need our Lucio to be sticking with the team. So we do have a lot of tools versus the Rein. I think Rein was just a little bit slow at adapting to that because we see this opening TP with the Reaper. What do we trade it for? We trade it for Maywall. We trade it for Soldier right click, right? What is the rest of the team doing in the meantime? Absolutely nothing, right? They should be pushing forward, right? It's kind of fair enough if they want to get some energy and then go back. It's fine, it's fine. I don't think they need to do it. I think they should be more confident. I think they should go forward, they should fight, right? You should pocket the Tsar forward, have the Tsar playing on the corner, have the Reaper come back with the Wraith, stabilize on the corner, push around with bubbles, while Kai's shooting, he can stand here, keep shooting, Anna's going to be shooting, Lucio can come forward as well, fight with you. You have options, right? You have options. I just don't think there's a need to back up. I don't think there's a need to back up. I don't think you need to do it. Like, you should be able to brawl these players on a corner. What's it called? UV can play super patient with the nade. In the meantime, what have we got? We've got Kai standing here spamming enemy Ryan. Like, we've seen them use Maywall. Like, where they're using what's it called? What's it called? Amp at the moment. Ryan's got 300 health on the shield. I don't think there's anything stopping us from just fighting, right? We've seen Kevster use the Helix and the what's it called? The heal, right? Which aren't like super critical cooldowns, but they are still cooldowns, and especially the Helix is kind of the only real way we're expecting our Reapers to get burst. And if the soldier has no Helix, then our Reaper's not really afraid of standing here and shooting people, right? If I don't Reaper, Tsar, maybe Lucio here with our soldier here spamming, Anna at the back spamming as well, like. It doesn't matter that they're playing Rein May because we've just seen them use Maywall, right? So like, I don't think we're afraid of fighting them here. I think Rein should stay here. They should keep shooting them. They have enough of an advantage in terms of cooldowns that they can stand here and fight. I think anyway. No, they do. They should commit to a fight there. We're not afraid of like a Rein running forward and swinging on us. It's not the same as it was in 6v6, right? They need to commit more to these fights. Right, the other thing as well, when we're looking for these types of fights, what do we have when we're playing the Tsar versus the Rein? We have this potential to support players on flanks, which means we can TP onto people with the Reaper, right? Because again, what does this do? It distracts the backline. And if the backline's distracted, we're not afraid of the Rein, because Azar can walk on the Rein, she's not getting shot. And if Azar's not getting shot by the backline, Azar can do whatever she wants. She's not afraid, yeah? The other thing as well is we have this ability to not put any real pressure in main other than an Ana shooting a Tsar, pocketing the Tsar forward, and also sometimes a Reaper, right? The Reaper is going to do much more in main if he's zoning out these players, right? If he's zoning out these players, that is going to have more of an impact in whatever's going down, it's going to have more an impact on whatever's going down in main than him walking forward and shooting a Rein, right? He does want to do that kind of like early on, start the fight, put a bit of pressure on, that's fine. But then as soon as the fight's actually happening, as soon as the critical moment's happening, it's usually going to be at the same time as he TPs on the backline, right? Because then he's actually zoning out these players. I hate looking at the game in terms of like, you have a certain number of players here and a certain number of players there, but here, right, fair enough, it is a 3v1, right? I prefer to think about it in terms of like slightly more specific cooldown, slightly more specific time commitments, that type of thing. But we can kind of think of it as a 3v1, right? For this brief period of time. And we've got to make sure we're actually using that, yeah? So what can we do? We can TP a Reaper with a bubble, makes a bit of space, with trade cooldowns effectively on the flanks. Yeah. The other thing we can do, because the Reaper with the TPs, the Zarya pushing main, and the Ana LOS is enough for this little skirmish in main, it means our Lucio he's unchained. He's no longer tied to the team. He can do whatever he wants. Specifically in this type of comp, it means he's going to be supporting the soldier, right? Making sure the soldier's on whatever angle the soldier wants to be on. Making sure that if the soldier's getting contested, it's now a 2v1 on the flank instead of a 1v1, right? This is exactly what we see here. There's almost no reason I can think of for OG not to be helping Kai on this flank, right? Where is he? That's not what I'm looking for. Pedifan, right? Instead, what happens? Kai starts coming on this flank. Pedifan hits the headshot. Kai's denied. Now Kai, he's been in downtime for about 10 seconds. Yeah? All because our Lucio wants to stand in main and fire some shots at what? At the enemy Lucio, at a Batiste, at a Rein shield. He wants to farm sound barrier. I don't know, right? It doesn't make sense to me. If you have, at this stage, right, a Lucio pushing with the soldier, coming around here, same time Zars walking main with Ana pocket, Reaper's TP top, made a bit of space, you have a fight. You have a fight, right? You have a good fight. And it doesn't really matter what happens, but because you have a good fight. And whatever happens, your team should be in a good position to react to, yeah? If the Mei ice blocks on the corner and the BAP turns around and runs this way to help, the team's in a position to react to that because we have players that can push main and take the space there, right? If the Mei runs away or gets pushed out and starts fighting main, the team can react to that, right? Because our team can kind of fall back, play around here with Zara, Reaper, and Ana, while the soldier goes further around on the flank and commits, yeah? So if we, in that type of setup, we actually have a fight, we can actually do things, right? Now, what else we got? They don't go for that one, but then they go for the next one. They kind of back up, stabilize a little bit, cooldown starting to come back. We've just seen the Mei will get used. We're ready to go for another engage, right? Kai's setting up his flank. What do we got here? We have Kai about to peek top. I know this is a little bit of a recap, but we've got Kai about to peek top. What's going to happen at the same time, right? We can do the same thing again. Kai peeks top. Hopefully he gets some support from the Lucio. Maybe the Lucio even kind of wall rides over to him and helps him. Then we can TP the Reaper up on the high ground, zone the backline with the bubble. At the same time, what have they got in main? They have a Rein and a Mei. Ooh, scary, right? We're not afraid of them if they don't have backline support, right? Which is the reason why we're flanking with Kai, which is the reason why we're TPing the Reaper. If they don't have backline support, these players, we don't care about them. Azar can push out with Ana. Ana's going to hit an aid because, again, remember, they don't have Mei wall. They don't have Mei wall. They've just used it. 7 seconds on the cooldown, right? They don't have the Mei wall. So we have this period of time in which we can get value. Why are Rein not using it? Who knows? Yeah, who knows? What do? We come up on this corner. Like, we should have done this like a few seconds ago. Right, it's taken us way too long to do it. But then we see this... I don't know what this Reaper TP is. Why would you TP here instead of here? It doesn't make sense to me. TP even here if you need to, if you know they're starting to walk backwards. I'm not sure. If that happens at the same time as the rest of the team's pushing forward, you're sorted. You have a good fight. Instead, what happens is you walk up a little bit, you kind of skirmish a bit at the main, and then you just fall back and you end up shooting Rein again. You are not going to win a fight versus the Rein if the whole team just agrees that this team's going to shoot the Rein and then this team's going to shoot the Zarya, right? Obviously, the Rein team's going to win just because the Rein shield is going to trade cooldowns better in that situation. But if we have if we don't have that kind of like gentlemanly 5v5 in main, then Rein should have the advantage because the soldier can flank with a Lucio, the Reaper can TP with a bubble, right? In that type of situation where you keep cycling those types of flanks, those types of engages, as long as Rein are matching their timings correctly, they should have the advantage, right? They're only losing these fights because they're just kind of agreeing to have these gentlemanly fights in main and not matching their cooldowns to make, not matching their timings, like with the TPs and the flanks and so on, to kind of find advantages outside of main, yeah? And again, as long as you push these players out, like this soldier, as long as you push them out, you zone them out while you're fighting the Rein, you do have the advantage versus the Rein in main at that point. So we have another chance to set up another flank here. And this is kind of like the last opportunity that Rein have on this first fight. We have the soldier go top. Again, we have another chance here, right? Soldier's fighting top with the Lucio. It's nice to actually see them together at this point. They should be able to stay here. Ideally, at the same time, what do we see? We see a Reaper TP probably here just behind these players. Reaper walks this way. These players spam this way. Soldier, BAP, probably going to have to drop, right? Even if these players come back and peel, that's still fine because our Reaper's going to be able to stay alive. And then we have a chance to take space in main in the meantime, right? Again, it's not about like having a clear way of winning the fight immediately. It's about having options, about being able to react to whatever the enemy team do, about being able to react to whatever developments in the fight actually happen after that, right? So again, we missed this other opportunity, and what do we see? I think we see the enemy team just back up a bit. Okay, that's fine. So it's kind of missed the opportunity. Did we just use shift? No, we didn't. Okay, that's fine. Okay, kind of fine. That's okay. Enemy team disengage a bit because we shot them. That's okay. But what do we see again? We see Kai go for another flank. So we have, once again, we have another option. We could right now be TPing up on the high ground. But instead, our Lucio's chilling in main with the team. Our Reaper's, what's he doing? Hiding behind Timmy, putting like 60 damage into the Rein shield every couple shots, right? Why is Kai not supported on this flank? Why does he not have a Lucio helping him get on this angle quicker? Why does he not have a Reaper going up with TP, making space up here, helping him get on these players, right? Azar will be fine in the meantime. She'll be fine. Even if she gets walled, she'll be fine. Because again, she's not afraid of a Rein. She's not afraid of a Rein Mei shooting her if she gets walled. The only thing she's afraid of is the backline damage. Zaryas do not die to Meis. They do not die to Reins in the front line. They die to the spam from the backline. So if we can zone out that spam at the same time that she gets walled, providing that she's walked forward with Ana Pocket initially and is full health with bubbles when she gets walled, she'll be absolutely fine. She doesn't need a Lucio with her. She doesn't need a Reaper with her, right? The only thing she needs is the enemy backline not nailing her with headshots from afar. Yeah? That's what she needs. But instead we have Kai forced to take the solo flank by himself. Right? And it just so happens that he's not in a position to win this duel versus Padifan. I don't know if I'm saying that right. It doesn't hit the Helix, doesn't win the duel. In the meantime, what do we have? Nero's just chilling on cart, spamming in main, trading resources versus Rein for no reason at all. So he gets windowed and he dies before he can react with shift. Again, it's just an awful fight. An awful fight. An awful way to open the game. And like, it gets worse too. I've forgotten about it. It gets worse because, okay, Nero dies. Fine. But we then have the chance for a re-engage because we've seen a heavy cooldown commitment from Glads. You know, we've seen them use ultimates, we've seen them use amp, we've seen them use Rein shield, we've seen them use Maywall, right? Heavy cooldown commitment. More importantly, what do we have? We also have Kai still on his angle. He's in a position to run up top, take a flank, right? But Rein don't see an opportunity for this re-engage. Well, at least I think they do see it, but they just kind of mess it up, right? Like right now, Rein should be screaming about the chance of the re-engage because what have we got? We've got Nano, we're coming up to beat, we're coming up to visor, very, very close, right? If we kite back a little bit, try and bait the Rein around the corner, then push back in with the Nano Zar at the same time the, what's it called? At the same time the Soldier peaks high ground, right? If we don't have to Nano the Zar, it would be great. We probably would prefer to Nano the Soldier, but because the Zar's being pushed, we probably will have to Nano it. Oh, sorry, because she's being pushed and she's had to use bubbles, we probably will have to Nano her for her to kind of push forward. But that's fine. Instead, what we see is like there clearly isn't a clear enough call here, because if there was a clear enough call, we would see we'd see Ultraviolet backing up this way instead, right? But because we're just focusing on kind of running away, clearly the comms just aren't here for this re-engage. Ultraviolet backs out in main, no one's checking the flank, it gets burst by, burst by Kevster before this re-engage is able to kind of properly start, right? So it's just pathetic from the sports, really. Like, they need to understand the tempo of this re-engage. Because gladiators understand it, right? Gladiators understand the tempo of the re-engage. Because what do we see from Reiner and Padifan in the front line? We see them, once they get to kind of like this area here, they don't actually commit any further because they know that they're low on cooldowns. They know that they're running out of steam. They know that they can't push around this corner without getting ulted. I'm pretty sure they also still have this soldier flank scouted. Maybe they don't, actually. Not sure. But you can still see the way that they're kind of a little bit afraid to commit fully around the corner because they know that Rein are in a position to re-engage. So why is it that the enemy team have recognized that Rein are in a position to re-engage, but Rein themselves haven't? Right? Because we do see them push with Nano, but the timings and the specifics of it are so messed up that we can only assume that the comms, like the kind of like the mid-fight comms, mid-fight plans for the re-engage, kind of weren't good enough, weren't there, weren't strong enough, weren't clear enough, right? Which is the reason why Ultraviolet just backs out into the open space, opens himself up to a flank, and then he dies for it, right? And if Ultraviolet is still alive here, we're in a very, very comfortable situation. Very, very comfortable situation because the fight would have lasted long enough, Hawk would have stayed alive long enough for this grav and this beat to come into play. Yeah? And if the grav and the beat came into play, you would have won the fight here. Yep. So, I guess that's kind of it for Queen Street, because the rest of the map was just more of the same. Yeah, but that's kind of where we're seeing Rein missing these opportunities for these TP engages, for these kind of chances to match the timings on the corners. Like these shadows. That type of stuff. And we're also seeing the strength of the rein comp in that it can force out those cooldowns, force out the wraiths, force out the bubbles, while only using rein shield. Yeah? But you can only do that if the enemy team agree to just stand in main and fight you. But yeah, cool. Reaper Genji is not too bad, actually. I don't really mind the Reaper Genji. That's fine. But I like the setup from Glads. I like that they're putting these players up here, because we kind of have a couple of options. Like, either the team will like push to point, in which case we're in a good position to kind of go and fight, or they might come up this way, in which case we're in a good position to, again, fight them here. Because again, a lot of the time the attacking team will want to clear this area before they go point. So if we put our tank there, then we can really kind of extend the time it takes the team to do that. Obviously, the other option, which is what we're going to see here, is that Rein go for this kind of map flip, which honestly Glads are fine with. They are fine with flipping the map like this, because the attacker's LOS is pretty much pretty good, right? Again, like we think about this side as the kind of attacker's LOS, right? It is better than the defenders, because you can really kind of force them off point. You have a lot of angles to spam them down from, especially if you still have control of this top right. But what do we see here? We see pretty default setup. I don't really know why Hulk. I guess he kind of wants to use early bubbles for charge. That's fine. Okay. Don't really care about the bubbles. What instead we're going to look at is one of the worst executed Reaper TPs that I've seen. It's nice that they're thinking about doing them, but it's just not. It's not really done too well, right? So what we're about to see is a pure default, like a pure default of the Zarya Reaper comp. In that, again, like what we were talking about last map, if we are zoning out the backline in this situation, the BAP and the soldier, if we're zoning those players out, we are not afraid of the rein. We can fight them, we can kill them, we can push them. Azar's not scared, our backline's not scared, no one's afraid, right? Because these players are zoned out, and these are the players that are winning this brawl in main for them, right? We think of like Rein and Mei as like brawl heroes. Yeah, okay. They can run in, they can do a decent amount of damage close range, so on and so on. But really, it's these players from the back. These are the ones that are carrying that. If that little brawl happens in their LOS, they'll win. If it doesn't happen in their LOS, they'll lose. Genuinely speaking, it's simple as that, right? So the way the Zarya comp plays into that is that typically they're going to open with a TP and a bubble, right? Obviously, Reaper, when it's Reaper, you TP. If you're playing Tracer, maybe you just go in and blink in, make some space. Reaper's kind of the best hero for this comp, though. He does it the best, right? Again, we're not playing Reaper so we can run in and shoot people. We're playing Reaper mostly so we can cover this distance really quickly, and with the bubble we can make a lot of space. Yep. Same way, kind of similar to what we're looking at when we look at the Monkey Zarya comp in 6v6. Yeah. Monkey jumps in, makes space on backline. Meanwhile, we've got the Zar, the Ana, the Brig pushing in and clearing out the players that are no longer in their backline's LOS, no longer receiving healing, no longer being supported by kind of range damage from afar. Yeah. So, what do we actually see? Well, where are we? So Kai comes around the corner, goes this TP. What have we done here? We have created a kind of brief moment of uptime because we zone these players out, and they're going to be focusing on clearing the Reaper, right? So now what are we looking for? We're looking to just kind of abuse frontline. And Nero does this pretty well, actually. Like, he gets on the flank, and he's just hitting kind of shuriken after shuriken into this Rein. Like, we're doing a decent job here. Yeah, we're shooting. And it looks like we're in a decent chance to, like, kill this Rein. Just kind of walking him and kill him. Then there's kind of... There dies... And at a glance, you'd look at this, you think, just Nero is overcommitting. But... We look a little bit closer. We open the books, and it's like, it's Rein is still afraid of fighting these players in main. They're still afraid of fighting, and it's like it's not really something I understand. It's like, because we TP backline here, and these players in backline, they're zoned out. They're not doing anything. We have this brief period, right? What have we got? Soldier, Bap, Lucio, all turned around looking at the Reaper. We have to get value in main in the meantime. We have to get value. It doesn't mean that we have to kill these players. They don't necessarily have to die. But we have to force their cooldowns, we have to chunk them out enough, right? So we have to do damage, we have to force their cooldowns, or we have to kind of take space, right? Maybe we're able to like force the Rein Mei all the way back to like statue, and then we can walk up and take all the space on point. This map isn't the greatest example of it, but that's the kind of other thing we're looking for, right? We're looking to get value in main by shooting them, forcing cooldowns, or by kind of taking a load of space. Yeah. But instead, what do we see? We see this kind of... We walk forward onto the Rein, and we're shooting him. We come around on this May wall, we're still shooting him. And I just don't know why we're not looking for a nade on the Rein. Hawk is not under threat in these situations, and like this is the thing to understand. Hawk is not under threat in these situations. If he was fighting here, right? If he was fighting here, and the enemy backline's still high ground, standing here, and here they're like, okay, Hawk's under threat, fine, right? I understand that Hawk's under threat, but he's not when the backline's zoned out, right? He's not like the backline's zoned out. He's not. He hasn't got anything to be afraid of. So why are we focusing on keeping him alive? Are we speed boosting? Like, we're not, like, speed boosting, but we're booping them away as well. Like, Hawk's running away, like with Lucio aura, while his Lucio boops these players away. Like, instead of taking advantage during this time period you created yourself, all you're doing is just surviving when, like, you have the advantage. Like, how do you not recognize that you have the advantage here? Like, this is what confuses me about Rein, is that, like, they should... This is, like, basic stuff to recognize. Like basic stuff. Like this is the foundation of playstyle. Like the first bricks. Like the Maywall has been used. Our Ana gets around the Maywall. Our Genji is eating this Rein alive with right clicks. Meanwhile, he's not getting healed. There is no healing here. Yeah. Instead, what we see is Azar starts running away. Right? So Azar starts running away. Our Ana nades the Zar to stay alive instead of nading these two players, probably even getting the kill on the Rein if the Zar pushes forward, and at the very least forcing out the May Ice block and, you know, probably a lamp as well, right? Again, that cooldown trade, that's what we need to get while the Reaper's making space, yeah? So instead of Azar walking forward and fighting, she's running away. Instead of our Ana looking for a nade to get value here, while Azar, remember, Azar isn't under threat, she doesn't need peel. She needs Ana shots, sure, but she doesn't need like a defensive nade because the soldier isn't shooting her, the BAP isn't shooting her, yeah? So the Zar's not walking forward and fighting. The Ana's not looking for an aggressive nade to force Rein out, kill Rein, force ice block someone. And our Lucio, for some reason, is booping these players away. Literally booping them away. So that we can't kill them. And then Nero gets stuck forward and dies, but like this isn't Nero's fault. Like this, it's just, you can't blame him for this. Because if you don't get value during this uptime, your comp loses anyway. Like, I guess you can reset and you go for another kind of trade, but like, you were in a position to win that fight. Right? You're in a position to win that fight and you don't take it, who knows why. Like, you're coming out after the halftime break too, when like, I assume that they must have talked about like how to play versus Rein and stuff. Like, it's just weird, weird that you have such a good option there, like such a good opportunity, and it just... But Hawk's not ready to commit. Ultraviolet's not ready to commit. OG's not ready to commit. Like none of the backline unit are ready to push in and close out this opportunity that Kai has created with the TP. You know, because it's like, again, like the reason why we're kind of playing the Reaper is to like force out the backline a little bit. You know, make sure the soldier doesn't have free LOS. Hanzo can kind of do that. You know, if Kai comes up forward and like hits a Sonic around the soldier and makes the soldier hide a little bit, then obviously like he's kind of doing the same job as the Reaper's doing. And as long as the rest of the team's pushing forward at the same time, yeah, you're pretty comfortable, right? So the Hanzo's not too bad. I don't really know too much about comps. It's like as long as we're finding a way to deny like an aggressive soldier flank or deny the enemy Batiste from, you know, spamming Azar, as long as we're finding ways to stop them doing those things, then it doesn't really matter what heroes we play, right? We come around the corner, nice Sonic on the corner, fighting here, Maywall. Oh, we trade, we manage to get out alive, we back up, enemy team use Visor, we nano the Genji, we re-engage. Do we re-engage with the Genji? We do re-engage with the Genji. What kind of? We trade cooldowns very effectively there, yeah? Because, again, they use wall, we use bubble. We used nade as well in the Zard to keep her alive. They were trying to push forward with the nano. Oh, sorry, they're trying to push forward with the visor. We countered with the nano on the Genji. Lamp got forced out. We chunked out the Rein. Rein used pin, right? Has Ice Block been used yet? Oh, we just forced out Ice Block as well. Beautiful trades, right? So like this is like the first fight that I've seen where Rein are actually trading cooldowns nicely. Like the window comes out, but the window comes out, but Nero gets a deflect kill onto Paddy Fan. Okay, right, nice. Yeah. So actually quite a nice fight from Rein. Like Gladiators were still in a position to stabilize there. Like if Paddy Fan doesn't get hit by this like deflect kill, then like Gladiators will still stabilize, and then they'll have to just keep trading ults like that. This is the first fight that's actually looked like a professional match of like Overwatch 2, right? Because in these in these like high level matches, you will keep trading like this, right? Because again, Paddy Fan wouldn't die here, and then what happens? Rein stabilize from the window. Then maybe they push forward with the grav, right? Maybe they grav early, then they push with beat blade afterwards, or maybe they grav, Funny Astro counters with his beat, then Rein kind of close out the fight with a beat and a blade after, you know, that type of stuff. And we see that kind of back and forth with the ultimates. Like that's how professional Overwatch 2 is played. And this is the first fight where it's actually looked like that, yeah? So actually, you know, good from Rein, you know? Nice to actually see them take a nice fight. Pushing up on point, taking space. Again, this is what we're looking for with the Zar. Where Zar's kind of in a position and with a flanking DPS that she's able to support with bubbles, and her team's able to support with range steals. That's the type of setup you want, because if the enemy team try and run straight past you, right? This is good. Like, I know that Glads are kind of forced to do this because they're going for the recontest, but if the enemy team try and run straight past this setup, where you have the kind of Zarya pocketing a DPS on and off angle, right, with bubbles and with backline heals, it then means if the enemy team try and run straight past you, you're in a position to push forward and go for a trade, yeah? Which is what happens now. Really nice grav. Just missed the lamp. Doesn't matter too much though. Nice, right? Really nice. That is what we're looking for. Nice. I don't have an uptime command, but it's been 1 hour 51 according to my phone. It took me about an hour to wake my brain up though, so the first hour is just a waste. Objective lost. Yeah, okay, so actually a nice fight from Rein, and then we saw a nice little close out situation there. A nice little synergy between Nero and Hawk, right, where Zar's playing a main, pocked in the DPS on the other side of a choke or on an angle, which means that if the enemy team try and push straight past you, you can then go for like a really nice trade. Again, that's kind of what we're looking for with the Zar. So, what are we thinking? We're thinking ideally we're pushing these players out of cover with the dragon. Oh, he almost dies. Okay. So pushing these players out of cover with the dragon. So where do we want the dragon? Probably want to like here. I think we want it quite kind of close, like maybe even like that, to force these players here to like commit to this left side or back up. And then after we dragon, it's going to force them to do something, right? So like they'll probably have to like push out of cover. Maybe when the dragon comes out, they're trying to like push in with Mail or Maywall or something. During that time, the rest of the team kind of chills, trades the dragon for enemy cooldowns. Again, remember, right? The ultimates aren't important. The ultimates are only important to us. But the ultimates are only important to us insofar as they can force enemy cooldowns. Because right, it's enemy cooldowns, enemy health pools is the way that they're actually winning the fights, right? So if we can use the dragon and force out an ice block, force out a May wall, force out a May ult, maybe, right? If we can use the dragon to force those things, then it doesn't really matter that we've used an ult and not got any kills because we've forced the cooldowns, yeah? And then we can push in and just use our cooldowns to kill an enemy team that has no cooldowns, right? So, ideally we're opening with the dragon, forcing the enemy team to use cooldowns, then we're pushing in, we have beat, we have blade, should be pretty simple, should be pretty easy. Water. So come forward with the dragon. We come forward with the dragon. It's okay, maybe we want it a little bit further to the right. It still forces out the May ice block. So May's got no ice block. Rein pushes forward. Ooh, like now's the chance, right? Like now's the chance for the re-engage, you'd think. Like the Rein's push forward, the May's use ice block, speed boost around, like our hands is on the angle too, right? This is perfect. Yeah, it's the dragons. Yeah, the dragon's still going, zoning out these players. So it's like, this is the moment that you have. This is the moment you have. The Rein's push forward, Maze use ice block. These players still zoned out. Now you pushing in with the beat, with the blade. You might not win a fight. They might use mail, they might use beat, but you have a good fight. You have an actual fight there set up, and you have the hands on the angle. It should be nice, right? But instead, we just see them kind of like fight main, come around the corner, and still not use any ults. Like, how do you let the enemy team get the first mail here? How do you let them zone out the Zarya? Like, yeah, okay, we get the sound barrier, but a sound barrier isn't going to save a Zarya when she gets Maywalled and ulted like that. Or it will if the backline doesn't have LOS, but when the backline has LOS and you're fighting in a straight line, a Lucio ult isn't going to save a Zarya. OG's going to die for it too? How do you miss this opportunity here? How do you miss this kind of tempo to push in? Like, there's no point playing the Zarya comp. I mean, there's no point playing fucking Overwatch 2, to be honest, but there's no point playing, like, the Zarya comp, but, like, if you're not recognizing and ruthlessly exploiting enemy downtimes. Like, you're forcing cooldowns. Like, you're playing with the bubbles to force enemy cooldowns. You're playing with the ults to force enemy cooldowns. You know the Mei doesn't have ice block. As soon as the Rein's, like, even now is, like, a little bit too late, to be honest, right? Like, when the Rein was, like, there, and the Mei was still in ice block here, you're pushing in with the beat, with the Dragon Blade, right? With beat, with Dragon Blade, Hanzo's on the angle shooting, you have a good fight. They might use 3 ults, and you might decide you're going to disengage yourself, right, and reset, then go back in afterwards. Or sorry, disengage yourself and stabilize, then go back in afterwards, right? Because you probably build the nano off that little play, then you could disengage, go back in with the nano. That's fine. That's how Overwatch 2 is played. But why do you not see this? Why do you not see this opportunity here? Like, why do you let them? And even now, you should be leading round. Like your Hanzo gets pushed out, which is a shame. It would have been nice to push around this corner while the Hanzo's still here, right? Which is a shame he gets pushed out. But even here, why are you not using ults? Why are you not using the sound barrier? Use it now so your Zarya can walk forward. Like, if your Zarya, right, has a sound barrier and can walk onto this Mei, she doesn't have to use bubbles for it, right? So she can walk onto the Mei without using bubbles. Which then means if she does get Mei-walled and then Mei-ulted, she has the bubbles she needs in order to go and disengage and stay alive, right? Whereas, if we allow the Mei to walk forward onto our Zarya, then our Zarya uses the bubbles when the Mei walks onto her, and then even though she has the sound barrier, she no longer has the cooldown she needs to escape from the Mei, right? Super simple thing to understand. If we force the Mei out here, our Zarya can disengage. If the Mei happens here, our Zarya can't get out, right? Because again, it's in a bad place, and our Zarya doesn't have cooldowns. And in fact, even if Paddyfan puts the Mei like here, right? That's still so much better than the Mei being here. And the way that we would do that is we would use sound barrier. And like, this is the thing about discipline in Overwatch 2, is that the team needs to understand this distance of, what is it, like 5 meters in the Mei placement, or where the Mei gets forced out. That is what wins and loses fights, yeah? And the reason, and the way you're able to do that is by using this opening sound barrier. So, weird. I don't know why they're not. I just don't know. It's like, I really want to draw attention to the fact that, like, Hawk isn't dying to Mei. He's not dying to Rein. He's dying to Soldier and Bap. That's who he's dying to, right? If he's pushing forward with the sound barrier, forcing the Mei out early, the sound barrier probably happens at the same time as a blade that goes forward and zones out these players. Also, the sound barrier would have hit the Hanzo in the window, and now the Hanzo's able to spam these players and zone them out. Then it still doesn't matter if our Zarya gets Mei-ulted, because these players are not in a position to shoot her, yeah? Like, again, that's like a super important thing to understand about it. And it's all about the backline LOS. And it's just, I don't know, it's just difficult to talk about these fights sometimes, because Rein are just missing so many chances. We have the nanoblade. What are we thinking about with the nanoblade? Again, when it's a kind of big opening nanoblade like this, it's very difficult for us to actually set up a good angle, right? So if we're not able to set up a good angle, if we're not able to get our Genji, like, close to the enemy team before he has to engage, it's going to be difficult for him to get that many kills with the nanoblade, right? Especially because they have sound barrier. If we had a flank and we could stop these players from running back, then, you know, we have a chance of getting kills with the nanoblade, but we're not really expecting to team wipe with this nanoblade. Yeah, we're not really expecting it. All we're really expecting to do is zone out these players, right? Which is going to give us a chance to clear the front line. Yeah? Again, exactly the same thing we were talking about on first point. We're zoning the back line, clearing the front line. Zoning the back line, clearing the front line, right? That's just kind of how Overwatch 2 is played at the moment, right? But Rein, I don't know. Like, we'll see. We'll see if they go for it. They come forward with the nano. Nice blade. We don't see the Lucio on the corner. So we don't have a chance to Ajax him, but that's fine. These players are zoned out. All good. Now we have a chance to kind of clear the front line, even though they've been... What are we doing? What are we doing here? What call came out in pre-fight? What call came out in pre-fight that made Ultraviolet want to run forward and look for this nade? What happened here? Why in the earth would you want to run forward and try and nade the backline? Like, does he think they're just gonna like get these kills? Like, it's good to look for trades in devolved fights, but not as part of the opening, right? Like, if this isn't the opening cooldowns, then okay, fine, he can run forward, look for trades and so on. Typically, the Ana is the one getting traded on, so OG might... Oh, sorry, keep calling him OG. Typically, the Ana's the one getting traded on, so Ultraviolet might not have a chance to look for trades in those devolved fights. But that doesn't really matter, because like this isn't even that situation. This is the opening of a fight. So why are we... Especially after we see the sound barrier. Like, the sound barrier comes out, why would we want to run forward here? Are we just looking to make it a messy fight and force out ultimates? No, surely not. Surely we just walk on this Rein and we nade him and the Mei, we force out the cooldowns, and then we just fight. Because we've zoned these players out. Like, we should be going forward. We slapped the Rein, not bad. You know, OG can be looking to kind of like boop the Mei and the Rein maybe a little bit further in so we can pressure them. Why are we looking to like score damage on these players? Like, we can just zone these players out. Nero can zone these players out by himself. The rest of the team is fighting over here. Then Nero disengages just as he's doing. And then we have like a brief time period in which we can fully focus these players. Especially if they get slept or antied. That type of stuff. Instead, Ultraviolet is running forward and sniping a nade on the back, which is just not... not necessary or wanted or like a decent use of resources. Like, it's kind of something maybe you would want to go for if you're defending and like the Ana sets up really close, has a chance to like drop on the enemy team. But not what we're looking for here. He even takes the bubble for it because he's been shattered. Like, I don't know. You have, like, you even kill the Rein too, right? Like, you still kill the Rein. Yeah? So like, imagine if instead of Ultraviolet running forward and just fucking throwing a nade onto the backline. Instead, he like run forward, like sleeps the Rein, nades the Mei, forces the ice block, that type of stuff. If you'd done that instead, like, then you have a fight and you also have a reset, right? You zone the enemy backline, you get advantage here. What do you force? You probably force Shadow, you probably force Mei Wall, you probably force Mei Block, right? Break a load of Rein shield, maybe even kill the Rein. Let's assume you do kill the Rein. So you got Mei here with no cooldowns, and a full team here stabilizing, ready to push. Right? That's how Overwatch 2 is played. Why are they not doing it like that? I don't know. I really don't know. It doesn't matter that the enemy team are playing Rein. So what are we looking for this fight? Coming into here, enemy team, coming out of one little choke. We have the grab. They have no ults. Should be pretty easy. We just grab them when they come out. Grab the Rein. Try and get the Mei in it if we can as well. And just shoot them. Should be pretty easy. We don't grab. Still don't grab. Still don't grab. Still don't grab. Still, well, now, surely. No? Are we waiting for the dragons? The dragon strike? The enemy team are coming out of one choke. I guess like two, if you include that. They're coming out of one choke. Your team starts with literally all the angles in the world on the choke. And a grav. And by the time that you use grav, you've allowed the enemy soldier to come all the way around and set up an angle on your Ana. You've allowed the Mei to run up to point and set up a Mei wall to split you. You've allowed your Hanzo to get pushed out by their Rein before we even think about committing resources. Like committing ults. Why? 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 It doesn't even hit anyone. How, like... How much time has he got to hit this grab? Like, okay, like, obviously there's some sort of call, which means he doesn't want to look for the grab, but like, he has so much time to do it. Look how much time it takes a soldier to set up this flank. Look how much time it takes the Mei to walk up on point. Look how much time it takes, like, this Rein to be in a position to push out this Hanzo. How is, like, the opening move, like, the first commitment of this fight, done by Kevster coming around an angle and, like, going for this flank with the Helix? Like, imagine if he hits it. Like, imagine if he hits that Helix and one-shots Ultraviolet. Like, how bad would that fight be from Atlanta? That doesn't make sense to me. Maybe that makes sense to one of you. Maybe they're over-respecting Lamp. Maybe, but like, you're fine. Like this is the thing. You don't need to get kills with the grav, right? If you use a grav in front line, your Rein shield gone, Mei wall gone, Mei ice block gone, Lamp gone, right? And if they don't have those cooldowns, they can't win a fight. They can't push. They can't take space. Can't kill anyone. It's a one fight. You don't get the kills in the grav, but you do get the kills afterwards, right? As long as you push and you don't let them stabilize, regain their cooldowns. And that's obvious. That's just how the game is played. It's obvious in Overwatch 1. Like, grab these two players here, right? Your Hanzo's on an angle with cooldowns. Genji's here shooting them, Ann's here shooting them. Your team's full cooldowns ready to fight. Grab these two players here, break the Rein shield, break the Mei wall, keep shooting them, force out the opening cooldowns. You're fine. Like, you're absolutely fine with that. Yeah? Like, if you want to wait a little bit longer, if you want to break a little bit more Rein shield before you grav, then that's okay, right? But, like, here would be the point you grav, right? Where the Rein's forward on cart. He's forward on cart. The shield's almost broken. Or here, when you're coming back, you're about to, like, jump top. Like, what's Rein shield at now? It's literally 93. It literally doesn't have shield, right? So, like, now is the time you jump up on cart and you grav. Surely. Like, he's jumped up on cart. He has a bubble. The Rein has no shield. 96 shield. Mei cooldowns. She still has cooldowns. That's fine. Right? You grav here on these players. Like, this isn't the first grav that Hawk has tried to snipe on the backline either. So, like, it's really confusing me. Just grab these two players here. Mei ice block gone. Rein shield gone. Mei wall gone. Rein probably dead. Lamp gone. Sorted. Win the fight. Easy. I just can't think of a reason that they wouldn't go for it. It doesn't make sense to me. Like, it doesn't make sense. Like, it's difficult for me sometimes because, like, I spent so fucking hell, man. It's like I spent so much time scrimming Overwatch 2 that I see these examples from overhead so much. It's like I'll quickly realize if you can win a fight. But like, these players play it. It should be obvious from the. I don't know. I literally don't know. I don't want to talk anymore about that. I don't know what the best dragon angle is here. I guess on this corner is good. Like, across here. I think that's fine. Not sure. Anything really. Yeah. That's nice. Just kind of blocking off that, like, area that they can hide in. Make them go to the right. This position here isn't too bad for Rein. It's fine. Okay, so how... Again, the real question really is how Rein are going to use this period of time. What are they going to do? They're going to do nothing. They're going to literally do nothing. They're just going to stand in main and wait for the enemy team to mail. What on the earth, man? Right. Okay. Not ideal. Okay. Right. Let's have a think, because we've seen this situation before. So, if any of you are still watching, you should know. You should probably know what I want in these types of fights. Where is it? The dragon comes in here. Backline zone. Oh, sorry. Rein pushed out. Cooldowns. Let's have a look at the cooldowns. Rein shield. 200, 100, 35. 35 on the Rein shield. Right? And we can see it too. You can see, you know how much health his Rein shield's got. Mei should still have cooldowns. That's fine. Lamp should still be there. That's fine. Right? This Rein has no cooldowns. He has no shield. You can push him. You can push him. You have a beat. You have a you have a sound barrier. You have one. Right? Again, this is just another one of those situations where it's like, okay, like let's think, what would I want? If I was in charge of all 5 players of this team, like there's 5 egos, what would I want? I'd want a sound barrier here. I'd want the Zarya pushing up on the corner with the sound barrier, pressuring this Rein. I'd want the Genji running up top with the sound barrier, Hanzo going top with the sound barrier. And then if the backline are out fighting, they probably won't be, but if the backline are out, then the DPS are going to be looking at the backline, make the backline go back. If the backline are back, then the DPS are looking at the Rein, shooting the Rein. Right? That's what I want. And again, the Ana can kind of walk up here too. That's what I would want. Like, you can afford to put pressure on this Rein. And what would you do? You'd push forward on the Rein. Again, the same thing we talked about the last time they had Mail. Yeah? The Zarya takes the beat now, runs up, doesn't have to use bubbles to run in because she has sound barrier. Yeah? And then you pressure in the Rein. In response, pretty clear, Mei's going to look for the Mei wall and look for the the blizzard, right? They'll probably look for like a Mei wall, like here, maybe catch the Zarya, blizzard her at the same time. Probably see a window from the back, yeah? But because we're walking forward with a sound barrier and we're forcing those things, it means they're happening in this area, yeah? Which means our Zarya, who still has her bubbles because she's walked forward using sound barrier instead of having to use bubbles in her own health pool, still has the bubbles she needs to kind of slip out past the wall and get out back to the team. So now you've disengaged versus the male and versus the window because you've walked forward with your beat and you've forced the enemy team to use them. Right? You force the enemy team to use them defensively instead of walking forward onto you. What happens after that? You stabilize a little bit, then you just re-engage with a nanoblade into a team that has no ults left. Okay, maybe they build the sound barrier at that point, but again, that's just going to happen. That's how Overwatch 2 gets played. From Rein's perspective, that's what? Like they do one push with the dragon and the beat, then they back up, then they come back in with the blade and the nano, right? Again, they don't need to plan out the whole fight, but if they're looking for these opportunities, they see this Rein push zoned out, and then they push with the beat, all of that should happen automatically. All these players should be able to kind of make their own decisions that will kind of agree with that, right? Because the Zarya, obviously, when she pushes in with the beat, isn't going to use bubbles, and then when the Mei uses ult, obviously she's going to run away and bubble, right? It doesn't need to be a team strat, it doesn't need to be planned out. The team has just got to understand, this Rein sitting here, no cooldown, stuck in a corner, the enemy team has mail, has back window, we need to push forward, we need to go in with the beat, we need to force them to use these ultimates defensively, rather than allowing them to push into us, which is exactly what happens, because Rein are just sitting at the back, not pushing forward, not zoning the backline, not pressuring this Rein. This Mei's allowed to walk forward and mail Azar, right? Because she's allowed to do that, what, the beat comes out defensive for the Zarya? Which isn't even enough to save her. We have to nano her instead. OG even dies to get the beat in, because he has to like jump off the wall and gets Mei frozen. Right? And then we use the nano on the Zarya, which means now we don't have the nanoblade, and I think you pretty much always have to just nano the Genji here and go for the trades. Like, I think you just have to do it. It's kind of awkward here too, because it looks like Nero would have been in a position to kind of Ajax the beat. If he hits like the slash dash onto the Funny Astro, it looks like he should Ajax the beat. I think that's how it works anyway. But again, the thing we care about is how all of Rein's options here, other than the opening dragon, right? What they had the nano, they had the beat, they had the blade. All of it basically gets forced out as a response to gladiators, as a response to what gladiators are doing, right? Gladiators should not have been allowed to run in with this mail. Because the Rein had 35 shield. 35. They had 35 shield. Like, I really hope it's getting across how many opportunities this team misses. Right? The dragon forces them back. Rein shield's broken. Literally 35 on the shield. Right? There it is. 35 on the shield. He's stuck in a corner. Right? Our DPS in position. They're super, super close. It's not going to take them very long to, come here, run up on the high ground. right? Our Lucio here with sound barrier, Zarya is here in position, take the sound barrier, Zarya can walk forward without using bubbles, pressure the Rein. In response, obviously, either we find a kill on the Rein, maybe if we're really lucky, but probably what's going to happen is Pettifan's going to use mail, Shu's going to use, what's it called? Window, that one. He's going to use window, but because Hawk has walked forward using sound barrier instead of his own health pool and his bubbles, he's going to be able to kind of get back to safety. Then the team can go for a nice re-engage with the nanoblade once the enemy team have used those cooldowns. And again, because we're forcing the enemy team to use cooldowns, use ultimates defensively, right? Because we're pushing into them, we're forcing them to use them here. It means they're not being used in this area, right? Which means that our team is never under risk of kind of dying. And it means that we can then use our cooldowns to play aggressive, right? So I don't know. It's like there's not much more I want to say about it because it's obvious. It's obvious. It makes sense, right? I just care about the tempo of the ult, the tempo of these engages. You know, it's like there is no commitment to this kind of push pull playstyle. There's nothing there. Weird, really weird. you have these chances to push. What? 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 Like, is Kai not like talking about the fact he has Dragon on the flank? Like, is no one on the team talking about the timings of these engages? Why are we wasting like an nano nade on just like a random nade in the enemy front line before the fight starts, right? Like, if Ultraviolet waits 2 seconds, this Dragon comes in, this Rein gets zoned out, his shield's broken, you nade them in the corner, Rein's dead, Lamp's out, or Rein might not die, but Lamp would be out, May cooldowns will be out, right? And you're sorted, you're fine. Like, you have an amazing fight with those cooldowns. Like, you're not trading cooldowns effectively. Like, Atlanta need to take a look at all of these cooldowns, right? It's honestly a pretty boring way of looking at coaching, right? Like, but you need to look at all these cooldowns. You need to look at where they're going, and you need to find ways to kind of min-max what you get out of them. Because this is just terrible. Like you're saying, if he has this nade here, and the team's running forward with the beat, like right now, Rein's going in his corner, team beats now, run forward with the nade the Rein May in the corner. It's a beautiful fight, right? Even if the enemy team survive and push back with Window and Mail, right? Still a beautiful fight, right? I don't know. I don't want to talk more about it, but like clearly the mindset is just so far off the mark. So far. Like, and it's not about the Rein comp either. It's not about playing into Rein. Because the playstyle for the Zar comp is basically the same versus whatever you're playing into. In that situation, you're basically playing exactly the same whether they're playing Rein or whether they're playing Zar, okay? And what we're saying is that the Rein comp can trade resources pretty effectively if all you're doing is standing in main in front of them. And you're not like ruthlessly exploiting their cooldowns or ruthlessly putting pressure on the flank. So one thing you can do if you're playing against it is you can go for these slightly bigger rotations on the flank and look for those types of nade engages, or look to kind of bully these players like this little thing here. You know, it's like it doesn't look that good for you, but you still trade, right? You're still forcing cooldowns in multiple places, like forcing out ice blocks, forcing out lamps, right? Which means that you're able to win these little duels on the flank, right? So it's like it's good from Rein. Like that's what we want. We want them putting the pressure outside of main. We want them taking these little flank angles and stuff. We do want them doing that, right? When you play the Zar comp, you can do it. You can force their cooldowns out, push them in main, bubble Genjis, Reapers onto backline, so on, to do the same thing. But if you gonna swap Doom, then you can do it by just kind of sending everyone into these angles, right? So I do think the Rein comp is like counterable with the Zar. Like I don't think the Rein comp is like that great, but it's nice to see Rein kind of make a swap and try and like find a new play style to go for in this kind of like 11th hour situation once they're on the map 3. So I do quite like that. Are we gonna nano the Genji in the room? Nice nano. Oh, get the shots. Nice trades. Yeah, nice. Right? Again, you see what we can do to the Rein comp when we're not afraid of them. Ultraviolet died, so we bring them back from spawn. Looking for like a beat engage out on the high ground here. Kai's up here scouting. Come out. We don't beat. We don't beat? Why don't we beat? Why wouldn't you just beat out on the high ground? Like, why would you take this risk of not using it immediately? Are we trying to use it for, like, enemy ults and stuff? Kai's scouting this too. He's telling you these players are here, right? You can see the Mei. Not quite yet. You can see the Mei in front of you, right? Kai's here scouting. He's telling you they're all on the high ground. You can see the Mei in front of you. You know the Rein's cart. You know the whole enemy setup. Why would you not just beat out? Why? I don't know why you wouldn't just beat out. That doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to me. Like, we miss our nade on Shu. Dodges it. That's fine. We get to sleep onto Mei. Why is the sound barrier not coming out? Doesn't make Shu is not allowed to do this. Just like run in and get this kill. Wow. Okay, I don't know. It just the mindsets with the sound barrier. I've not been impressed by a single sound barrier this game. Like they've all been off. They've all been wrong, right? So I don't know. Whatever's going on with like the way that these guys are thinking about sound barriers, I don't know. That makes sense to me. Nice little setup from Rein. We're looking for another flank. Anna's dropping high ground. What a nade. Beautiful, beautiful. That's what we like. Again, pretty standard stuff. This is, I really like this from Glad. It's like one fight, they get flanked from high ground. And then, like, this is what you wouldn't see from Rein, right? So like one fight, they get flanked from high ground. And they lose the fight because of it. So what do they do next fight? They send all 5 players high ground. Check there's no one here. Then the creep peeks left side. Checks there's no one here. Beautiful, right? And then they take a fight. Like that's a team that has the comms and has the trust and has the in-game leadership to succeed, right? It's really nice to see that. Nice. I love that. It's good. We're walking main. Should still be a decent engage. Hawk. Going with a nano Genji. Decent engage. Decent engage. Hawk is... As Hawk's dying. I think Nero's still fine here, right? Like, surely he can just chill on the outside of the door and just, like, spam in. Like, OG's here with him as well. It's kind of an awkward fight because we're a couple of small bits away from that being actually a really nice fight. Our main issue is that Hawk gets chunked out before he's engaged. Like, what's he doing in this corner? He's just standing here taking Lucio shots. And then he takes like two Rein swings. I don't know. If Hawk's full health when he engages here, then he stays alive long enough for Ultraviolet to come around and get heals onto him. He cops too much damage at the start. Where is it? Like, how much damage does he want to take here? On the corner spam of it? Like, why would he not just hug this corner? Like, he has enough players scouting for him on high ground that he doesn't need to be. It's like 380, catches a bunch of damage from the Lucio. Lowers the damage, then 1 swing, 2 swings. Yeah, okay. I don't know, he can't take this much damage before he engages. There's not really much else to it. If he doesn't take this damage, then he stabilizes, because like the Ana gets walled off, and like fair enough, okay, Ana gets walled off, wants to like drop and run this way. That's fine. If Hawk isn't 200 health when he goes in, he stays alive long enough for the Ana to come around this angle and pocket him, and then they stabilize mid-fight, and that's kind of the way that Doom wants to play, is that he kind of wants to go for these types of engages, then Ana comes and like bursts into full, then he goes for another play. And he would have been able to do that if he didn't allow himself to take like 2 Rein swings before the fight started. Which is weird. I think Nero's fine on the flank too. I think Nero can play here. Does he just see a chance to chase? I think he just goes too far in. I think he wants to stay like out here with like on the threshold and spam in. I know he's desperate to build Blade, but maybe it's fine, because if he goes in and gets like the 1 shot on Shu, then like if he goes in and gets like the kill on Shu and then builds the Blade, then it's different. But I don't know. I think the main problem's Hawk, because it kind of cascades too, because it's like, where is it? Watch it from like OG's perspective. He's like so desperate to come round and heal Hawk that he's not able to get any support into Nero, and Nero's a player that actually needs the support. Like if your Genji doesn't build this blade and start blading the backline now, like you're probably gonna lose this fight. The person I'll blame for Nero's death is mostly gonna be Hawk, because if Ultraviolet doesn't have to be like so focused on going for Hawk here, then he has the chance to actually heal Nero. But still, I would want Ultraviolet to focus on this Genji, because again, it's Nero with the Nano and the Blade that's gonna win this fight. So like, it's fine if Hawk dies in order for you to pocket the Genji, you know? Like I would have liked to see him come around this corner and actually focus on Nero instead of Hawk anyway. Like we don't really care that much about Hawk. We care about making sure our nanoblade comes through. But yeah, I don't know. So they had the chance with the Zarya. They're playing Zarya. We'll do them in blue. We have Zarya in blue, Rein in red. Again, this kind of brawl that's happening in this area is decided by Rein's backline LOS. So if the soldier, the BAP are back here, and they're shooting, we'll do them just like that actually. Soldier and BAP are back here. If they're shooting the Zarya when the Zarya's walking forward, the Zarya's going to die. The Rein's going to win that trade. But if we have a Reaper TPing and making space in the backline, maybe a soldier flanks around, right, with a Lucio supporting him and shoots the backline, makes space in the backline, right? And at the same time, we just have the Zarya with the Ana playing main. And then remember too, the Reaper, after he's on the backline, can then turn around and focus the right. The soldier, after he's shot the backline, can then change his angle to the right, right? And if we're playing like that, where we're TPing the Reaper, right, TPing him with bubble, zone and backline, then turning around on Rein. Soldier going around with Lucio, shooting backline, then turning around on Rein. At the same time, we have Zarya walking forward, pressure in the Rein with the Ana pocket. We have all those things happening, then we're trading cooldowns effectively, yeah? And if we're doing those things, we're kind of like, we're doing that, we're not fully committing, but we're doing this type of thing, soft, over and over again. We're forcing out Mei cooldowns, like we're forcing out Wall, Ice Block, we're breaking Rein Shield, maybe Lamp if we're kind of really lucky. Although Lamp's not actually that good anyway, we don't really care about forcing it too much. But yeah, mostly Mei cooldowns, Rein Shield. If we're doing that over and over again, until they use those cooldowns, then the next time we go for it, if we know they don't have Mei Wall, then we can kind of fully commit to it and fully push into this Rein and kill them. The Rein comp is fine. It's not great. It's not like a meta comp, right? Like it's decent and it works, but it does get outpaced, I think, by teams playing better. I think Rein just played terribly into it, right? That's kind of their main struggles versus the Zarya when they're playing the Reaper. When they were playing versus when they're playing on King's Row and they had kind of Hanzo, Genji, that type of stuff, most of their struggles were to do with the way that they were thinking around ultimates, right? They weren't using their ultimates to take space. That kind of whole tempo of the push pull, terrible, basically just non-existent, right? Like they want to use ultimates to force enemy cooldowns, and then once those cooldowns are forced, they can push in with their cooldowns. The ultimates aren't important, right? The ultimates aren't the important thing. The cooldowns are the important thing. You can use a dragon to force a Mei Ice Block, maybe a Mei Wall, maybe a Lamp, maybe some Rein Shield. Force any of those things, push afterwards, great use of the ult. Same goes for Grav, right? If you use a Grav to go in, break all of Rein Shield, force both Mei's cooldowns, force a Lamp, then you can push in after that, you can fight. Because it's the cooldowns that enable you to fight. It's the cooldowns that enable you to do things, not the ultimates, right? Same kind of mindset that we'd want with the sound barrier. All those fights with sound barriers just terrible, right? If instead we're pushing in with the sound barrier, and then we're using the sound barrier to enable us to walk forward without using our health pools, and without using our cooldowns like Zarya Bubble or Reaper Shift, that type of stuff, then it means once we reach the enemy team, we still have those cooldowns that we can fight with. So that if we reach the enemy team, and then once we walk into them with beat, they use a Mei ult, it means our Zarya still has the bubbles in order to kind of run away and get out, right? It means our team still has the health pools, the cooldowns, to run away and get out and disengage. And that's the kind of mindset that they needed with those sound barriers that just wasn't there, right? So not great from Atlanta, not too impressive.